I'm Trevor Williams from Global Atlanta. Ted, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. You talked about the importance of brands and overseas expansion. I was wondering, American consumers, relative to some of these emerging markets around the world, are pretty discriminating consumers and understand quality. I was wondering how you're making the case for quality in places where the buying habits are more based on price than anything.
At Newell Rubbermaid, in any market we work, we really need to get the quality and value equation right. And that's going to vary based on the local market conditions. So we go on the ground, we do consumer research, end user research, we get the insights, and then we develop and innovate products that are right for that market. So a good example is, I could share with you, is our Lennox bandsaw products. We sell bandsaws around the world. They cut through big blocks of steel used in construction. In developed markets, you would typically see the end user would value a saw that cuts fast. In developing markets, like in China, the priority is on a saw that lasts long. So we use different metallurgy, different techniques to develop those products and market them with kind of two different value equations, both very relevant for their local markets.
I was wondering if you could talk about how buying habits in the U.S. have changed in this period of downturn and what you foresee globally going forward.
Well, in the United States, as most companies would recognize, buying habits have changed. People are tightening their belts and they're buying at a reduced frequency of products that you might call discretionary. So some of our products have done very well. Some of our products are suffering a little bit. An example, for instance, of products that are not doing as well would be in our baby and parenting area. We sell car seats, strollers, and other baby gear. And some of those products can be, the purchases can be put off a little longer than normal. You might be able to use a product from your first child, again for your second child, borrow a product from your neighbor. And in more healthy economic times, that's less the case.
And you talked about kind of making the case for your brands overseas and how you have to do local research to devise products that will make sense for those markets. Tell me about how you translate your marketing plans to other markets. I know that there have been many examples from companies that try to translate their brand message from one language to another, and not even just linguistically, but culturally. How do you make your case? You talked about starting from scratch. I'm just interested in that process.
Well, in terms of translating brand equities, brand positioning from culture to culture around the globe, we try to stay as uniform as possible to the overall brand positioning. So if it's about Sharpie, for instance, is about expressing yourself. Bold expression makers are who we go after. That may be articulated with a different selling line and television imagery in the United States, where Sharpie is very well understood, versus in Brazil, where we're introducing the market, where the notion of self-expression through color and boldness is still relevant, but people need to understand what is a Sharpie. It's a marker, it's permanent, it's a different shape than what they have down there. So we'll have a very similar brand positioning, but we'll adapt it to the local market dynamics.
I think that a lot of people don't understand, when you're embarking on an overseas strategy, how that affects your headquarters here at home in terms of employment, in terms of, the culture of the brand or of the company.
When your company's primarily U.S. based and your ambition is to grow internationally, you do have to invest both in the U.S. and in those markets. You have to have the right people on the ground in those markets. But in the U.S. headquarters, we need to recruit and retain the right kind of management talent that really understands global businesses. If all you've ever done is sold products in the United States, it's very hard to connect with someone who's struggling and trying to build business in international markets. So one of the changes we've seen in recent years at Newell Rubbermaid is an influx of management talent with much more international experience.